Manx Radio's Update with Beth Espy.
Fastamai, good evening. Welcome to Update, a roundup of what's been happening news-wise on the Isle of Man today. In the next half hour, we'll hear about the opening of the inquest into the death of an MGP rider at this year's event. Also tonight, the Steam Packet wants you to let them know what you think about the company. We speak to MD Brian Thompson, and Christian will be joining us live from an exciting opening of a new function space in Onchan. We'll also keep you up to date if there are any traffic or travel issues as you're heading home or maybe away for the weekend. And as ever, if you'd like to get in touch, we'd love to hear from you. You can text 166 177 or you can email studio@manxradio.com. First, let's join Siobhan for a roundup of today's main news.
The inquest into the death of a motorcycle racer who died on the first day of this year's Manx Grand Prix has been opened. Lewis O'Regan sustained multiple injuries in a high-speed collision on the 18th of August. The 43-year-old was pronounced dead near Kate's Cottage just after 5 p.m. At Douglas Courthouse today, the Deputy Coroner of Inquests confirmed investigations into his death are ongoing. A 6-month progress report has been published by the Housing and Communities Board following the implementation of the homelessness strategy. It reveals that more than £62,000 was spent providing emergency accommodation for homeless people in a year. Between February last year and June this year, 63 individuals and 2 families were helped with overnight housing. The Treasury Minister believes the next couple of years will be challenging and that many governments across Western Europe are facing similar difficulties. Earlier this week, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer warned of a painful autumn budget, but insists his election pledge not to hike VAT or national insurance would be kept. Almost £700,000 of taxpayers' money was spent running Government House last year. The figure has been revealed as part of a response to a Freedom of Information request. It also shows nearly £95,000 was spent on gardening. And buildings and landmarks around the island will light up purple tomorrow night in honour of International Overdose Awareness Day. This year's theme is Together We Can, highlighting that the impacts of an overdose are far-reaching and indiscriminate. Further afield, residents have been left shaken after a 13-year-old boy was stabbed to death at a house in Oldbury. A murder investigation is now underway there, and we're told detectives are working flat out to find the person responsible for what happened yesterday. And Donald Trump has threatened to imprison Facebook owner Mark Zuckerberg if he does anything illegal to influence the upcoming presidential election. The Republican candidate made the claim in a new book called Save America. That's all for now. I'll be back with your news at 6.
Thanks very much, Siobhan. Now the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. It's going to stay dry and sunny with light winds this evening. Clear skies tonight as temperatures drop to around 11 Celsius. And another fine day tomorrow, so a great day for camping perhaps. Lengthy sunny spells, generally light winds and feeling warm in the afternoon sunshine. Best temperatures around 18 or 19 Celsius. There is just the risk of a few passing showers on Sunday morning, but otherwise it will be a bright day as well. Sunny intervals developing as well and temperatures rising to around 20 Celsius. Sunset this evening will be 13 minutes past 8. Sunrise tomorrow morning 6:25.
Manx Glass and Glazing don't just do the big jobs. It's easy to repair broken greenhouse glass at Manx Glass and Glazing. For greenhouse glass cut to size, call 674 573.
See the island like you've never seen it before on an incredible chauffeur-driven trike tour. A unique way to make memories that will last a lifetime. Gift vouchers available too. See iomtriketours.com for details and booking.
One architectural design company has particular expertise in achieving planning approval for a wide variety of projects, from landmark buildings to spectacular homes. Talk to the experts at Ellis Brown and get your project off the ground. For excellence in design, search Ellis Brown.
Your business can grow its market share 4 times faster. Be heard by over 43,000 island adults over 13 weeks. Call us on 682 600. Manx Radio is proud to support Manx businesses and communities.
Firestone Rubber Roof Shop for one-piece flat roofing systems. No joins, no leaks. We also line commercial box gutters in one piece up to 60 metres with a 20-year written warranty against leakage. Call Rubber Roof Shop on 49667.
You're listening to Update on Manx Radio. It's coming up to 5:05. The inquest into the death of a motorcycle racer who died on the first day of this year's Manx Grand Prix has been opened today. Lewis O'Regan was killed on the 18th of August. The news editor Tessa Hawley is with me now. And Tessa, you went along to Douglas Courthouse this afternoon. What can you tell us?
So today we learned that the 43-year-old sustained multiple injuries as a result of a high-speed collision on the mountain road just before 5 o'clock that day. It happened during a practice session at Kate's Cottage. Now, Mr. O'Regan, who lived in Didcot in England, was pronounced dead at the scene before his body was then taken to Nobles Hospital.
Just remind us then why there has to be an inquest at all.
So inquests are held when the cause of death is unknown or can't be ascertained, and for all deaths of an unnatural or violent nature, or those with suspicious circumstances. So in this case, and with all motorsport fatalities, the coroner will open an inquest to record that firstly a death has occurred, and then to identify the person that's died. They'll then eventually go on to look at the circumstances which have led to that person's death. At the opening of an inquest, the coroner will record very specific factual information, so the name of the person who's died, where and when their death occurred, and how that person died. The case is then adjourned for further investigations to take place, usually between the police and the coroner, before another hearing is scheduled. And it's at that hearing that the coroner will establish a conclusion or verdict. And just a reminder that an inquest is not a trial, and the coroner does not apportion blame.
So in this case, with Lewis O'Regan then, what will happen next?
So the Deputy Coroner of Inquest has released his body, so that means funeral arrangements can now take place. Today she also offered her condolences to his family and friends, and that sentiment was echoed by the advocate representing the Autocycle Union, who was also in court. Investigations into Mr. O'Regan's death are continuing, and once those inquiries are completed, his inquest will be resumed.
Tessa, thank you. You're listening to Update. It's 5:07. The head of the Jacks Group says he couldn't believe it when the Department of Infrastructure closed the sea terminal earlier this week after the cancellation of the Manannan evening sailing because of bad weather. Now, Barbary Coast in Douglas has been praised for opening its doors overnight to provide shelter for stranded passengers. The DOI, which manages the terminal, has defended its decision to shut it, stating, as we heard on this programme yesterday, it is the passengers' responsibility to make alternative accommodation arrangements. Well, Andy Gibbs is critical of this move, calling it shocking.
I couldn't believe it, to be honest. You know, we're supposed to be welcoming these people and giving them a good time, and we're taking their money off them. It's all about hospitality, isn't it? And like I say, giving people a good time and looking after these people. We feel, we're responsible for them. And if the boat gets cancelled, yes, most people will have provision and probably try to look for hotels or what have you, but it was like 10 o'clock at night. There was one gentleman there, he was 80 odd years of age, a marshal, and we actually found him, Pasquale found him asleep on the bus stop, or trying to get some sleep in the rain, on a bus stop outside the bus station there, and he invited him, went and spoke to him and invited him in. And that guy didn't know anything about it. He'd just been told that the terminal was closing, and he had no means of doing anything else. So off he toddled. And I even believe there was a couple in there that said, well, what happens if we just stay here? What are you going to do? And the security guy in there said, well, I'll have to call the police and have you removed. Come on. What's going on here? Like I say, Pasquale, he messaged me. I was in bed. Normally I don't answer to some of the messages, but there was a couple of messages, so I thought, I'll have a look. And like I say, I just couldn't believe it. So it was an immediate yes, look after them, do the best you can for them. I just thought it was shocking behaviour from the department.
Do you think the DOI should change their policy and keep the terminal in events like MGP and TT when we've got vast amount of visitors over? Should keep it open? There
should be an option there, shouldn't there, really, for them to... I'm pretty sure there's a security guard that's on there all night. I don't see the reason why, he couldn't be there with them. It's not thugs or anything that's in there, is it? They've just got to keep the kids out, basically, haven't they? But yes, definitely they should. They should consider it.
That's head of the Jacks Group, Andy Gibbs, talking to Oliver Sykes. Coming up to 5:10. The Steam Packet is urging people to share their thoughts about the company. So far, more than 2,000 people have responded to an online survey asking for feedback on its services. This survey closes on Sunday. Managing Director Brian Thompson says they will then look at what can be learned from this survey.
The intention of the survey is to get the Manx public's view on the service we provide and their expectations.
And more than 2,000 people have responded to this so far. So have you been able to see the responses and see what that general view has been like so far?
No, I haven't. We know how many there is, but we are not going to pick through it. I think it's very important to me that it is a sort of pure process, and what comes out the other end of it is sort of the genuine response, if you like. So no, we know how many responses there's been. There hasn't been any analysis of those yet, but once that's done, we'll take those things into account.
And so then what is going to happen once the survey's closed? You get that analysis back. How are you going to use those results?
Well, that's really difficult to say until we see the results, because they could come back saying anything, and outside the sort of realms of our control. But certainly we'll do what we can with the feedback, but we do have other responsibilities as well.
Do you have an inkling of how you think the public perceive the STEAM packet?
I think we have, yeah. I mean, social media gives one view, but I think that's often skewed in one direction, and it's a sort of small sort of demographic, if you like. I think pricing's always one of the things that comes up, but it's also something that we constantly looking at. We're trying to do different special offers. The Round Island cruise is another one that always proves very popular. So these are things that people have asked for, and we're trying to deliver.
And how long is that survey going to be open for, and how can people find it?
So it's due to close soon, but we would encourage anyone who hasn't completed the survey. It is quite long, so it's worth knowing that. And if you want to have your sort of feedback listened to get on it soon and get it back to us.
That's Managing Director of the STEAM Packet, Brian Thompson, talking to Amy there. And you can find a link to the survey at manxradio.com. 12 minutes past 5, the Treasury Minister is set to outline details of a new levy that will replace the tax hike announced in the last budget. Now, revenue generated will continue to be ring-fenced for the health service, as has been the case with this year's increase to the higher rate of income tax. Dr. Alex Allinson was asked what this new levy might look like.
What the 2% rise in the higher rate of tax that was announced in February was doing was filling in some of the increased investment in our health and social care service, because we've seen those costs increasing as I've set out, and we need to have a balanced budget on the Isle of Man. We cannot do what my counterpart in the UK can do, which is borrow large amounts of money. We have to have a balanced budget and reduce our reliance on reserves. What we're doing at the moment is working out what the economic outlook will look like for next year, what the costs will look like for next year, particularly in terms of healthcare, and how we balance that. So one of the ideas with the healthcare levy is to try to make it more progressive, to look at how we can reduce the burden on working families, increase the support they get, for instance, the changes we made to child benefit, and also the changes we made to the funding of preschool places that will kick in next month, but also going forward, how we can fund a healthcare system both that provides the services that people need, but also is affordable.
That's the Treasury Minister Alex Allinson speaking there. We're expecting more when he provides an update on the island's fiscal position in October. Let's turn our attention to business news. We're going to be hearing from the Ocean Views in a moment, which has launched a new function space called OV Lounge in the past few minutes. So let's just go to the stock market report first of all, which is brought to us by Ramsey Crookall. They tell us that UK stocks held steady today as investors digested a slew of data releases and inflation readings, both in Europe and the US. UK house prices fell unexpectedly this month, a sign affordability remains stretched even after the Bank of England eased borrowing costs. The Nationwide Building Society said its index of house prices declined 0.2%, the first drop since April. Most economists had expected a 0.2% increase. The average cost of a home in the UK was more than £265,000, up 2.4% from a year earlier, but 3% below the all-time high reached in the summer of 2022. The US dollar held steady to snap a 5-week losing run versus major peers. Oil prices fell sharply after a report that OPEC Plus plans to proceed with previously announced output hikes in the fourth quarter. And gold was also weaker, falling back from recent highs. Gold stands off 0.66% at $2,504. Brent off 2.41% at $77.83. Just before the close, the FTSE 100 was off 0.06% at 8,374. And a short time ago, the Dow Jones was up 0.07% at 41,365. And the Nasdaq was up 0.48% at 17,602.
I'm running late again. Do you know where I put my car keys?
In the fridge.
Where's my phone?
Under the dog basket.
Bye.
You haven't forgotten that we're seeing Ramsay Crookall later?
Oh, no, of course not. 5 p.m, is it?
3:45.
I'll be there.
Life is busy. That's why Ramsay Crookall's team takes time to help you make a mindful investment decision, considering all the options, giving you full control of your financial future. Less stress, more assurance.
Forgot to put my shoes on.
See how we can make your money work for you. Call 717171 or visit ramsaycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
It is 16 minutes past 5. Now, as I mentioned, Ocean Views in Onchan is launching a new function space. It's called OV Lounge and aims to host a range of events from birthday celebrations to corporate meetings. And they've just had their own celebration in the past few minutes. And Christian is on location for us in Onchan for the launch. Christian, what's happening?
Hi Beth, yes thanks, and like you say, I'm here with the owner of Ocean Views, John Kinley, and just like you've said, in the past few minutes they've cut the ribbon to open a new facility which they're calling OV Lounge. John, thanks for taking the time to speak to us. Just talk to me about what we're seeing here. What's this new venture that you set up?
Well, the new venture is an add-on to the Ocean Views, and we think that there's a big need in the Isle of Man for a really classy function room. Function room itself is right in the heart of Onchan. It's easy to get to, etc. And everything in there is from the lights to the entertainment area to the bar area there, and it's linked into the Ocean Views, which is kind of handy for people if they want to use any of the amenities inside, etc. So it's a brand new function room right in the heart of Onchan, and it really is fantastic. We have so many inquiries already, and tonight we've had some really nice dignitaries come along. Sarah Maltby has come along kindly from Douglas MHK, and opened the OV Lounge.
Now, we finished arguably the busiest season for the hospitality industry, TT, Southern 100 and MGP. How's the year been so far?
Weather-wise, it's been a bit topsy-turvy for everybody, but for us, we have a cafe there, so the weather's nice. People come out. If the weather's not so nice, then people come to the restaurant. It's been a bit of everything. But in terms of TT and Grand Prix here, where we are, for whatever reason, we don't seem to get that much of a peak here. But we're hoping to change that, hopefully going forward, with the brand new function room and events room there called the OV Lounge.
Now, we know that hospitality has faced a tough time recently, some organisations closing, others saying they can't expand because of recruitment issues and increased costs, but you are quite clearly expanding here. So what led to this decision?
To make our business sustainable. A lot of people or business owners in this particular hospitality trade on the island need to open their minds a little bit and take a little bit of a risk sometimes. It is risk against reward, I think. For us, having a business that can work all year round as opposed to being seasonal. The issue that we have next door in the cafe, it's only open in the summer. We've got a business there that doesn't really open during the winter. This solves that problem. It allows us possibly to open at weekends, to have coffees and teas for people who want to just jump in and have a tea and a coffee even when the park's closed. It allows us to provide functions for people and provide the food for them functions, and it just allows us to be sustainable. So it was a measured investment, if you like, but the investment's been difficult. It's been a difficult, really, really difficult ride. 18 months of hard work. We've thankfully just today officially opened it.
And like you said, taking that risk, what are your confidence levels like for the new lounge? Is this a risk, or are you fairly optimistic?
I think it's a calculated risk. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. You can work out what you think's going to happen, But we believe that we provide a fantastic service here at the Ocean Views. People know us. Myself and my wife have ran the Ocean Views now for 5 years. We run a tight ship as we do downstairs, and this is just adding on to that. So I think between the three businesses, I think we'll do well. We want to continue to develop the area, make the area better. We've got the Onchan commissioners behind us. They're very, very good and very, very helpful, and we hope to move this area forward.
John Kinley there, thank you so much for speaking to us, and I'll pass back to the studio now.
Thank you very much indeed, Christian, who I hope has been enjoying some canopies there at that official launch that's happened in the past few minutes. You'll be able to find out more at manxradio.com shortly. 5:20.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
So not a lot to report, which is always good news, isn't it? Everything looking okay down at the airport and at the steam packet as well. And there's nothing that we know about on the roads. So if you spot anything when you're out and about, do let us know, 166 177, or you can email studio@manxradio.com.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre, with 1 year's free engine warranty from Castrol. Get more with
Quayside. 5:21. Almost £700,000 of taxpayers' money was spent running Government House last year. That figure's been revealed as part of a response to a Freedom of Information request. Siobhan Fletcher has the details.
In 2023, a total of £698,534.57 was budgeted for staff salaries, including that of the Lieutenant Governor and his staff, and the day-to-day running costs of the House and grounds. Sir John Lorimer was sworn into the role in September 2021 and has resided at the Onchan property ever since. He's supported by 8 full-time members of staff who are employed through the Cabinet Office. They support his work and the running of the household. They include a chef, a butler chauffeur, 2 housekeepers and 4 managerial, administrative and secretarial employees. Breaking that figure down, staff costs in 2023 were recorded as £383,455.95. Building maintenance is carried out by the Department of Infrastructure as and when required. Last year, the department spent £45,285.92 on planned and reactive work and energy costs. The DOI covers the cost of electricity, gas and rates. Almost £14,000 was spent on maintenance internally, which includes internal decoration and things like the repair and replacement of white goods. 2 gardeners maintain the 12-hectare grounds at a cost of £94,491. During 2023, Government House was visited by 4,785 guests and visitors for varying functions and events. The cost of catering these was £14,773. The Freedom of Information response also confirmed that the Lieutenant Governor is not entitled to an occupational pension from the Isle of Man Government. It also says the Governor travels in his own vehicle, which he runs and pays for personally when not on official duty. He also pays for his own food and drink when he's not working.
Siobhan Fletcher reporting there. Well, a 6-month progress report has been published by the Housing and Communities Board following the implementation of the homelessness strategy. This reveals more than £62,000 was spent providing emergency accommodation for homeless people in a year. Between February last year and June this year, 63 individuals and 2 families were helped with overnight housing. David Ashford is the board's chair.
One of the things we've been very keen to do with this homelessness strategy is to stop this concept of thinking everyone's the same. You can just bung everyone together in one particular area when you've got people with a mix of difficulties and a mix of issues that they're facing, and it may not be right to mix different types of people. So when they go through the pathway, they are assessed first of all to see, are they vulnerable? What risks are there around that individual? And the type of accommodation that's provided, it can be a B&B model, but there are other models as well, is more tailored to what they actually require. And like I say, some people, they may only require emergency accommodation for a few days because it's something that's happened suddenly and they've had to leave their existing home, but they can return at a later date. There's various different scenarios, and the important thing is we're tailoring for the individual.
We have a story running today about just maintaining Government House, £94,000 plus on maintaining the grounds there. Do government have their priorities right in spending that amount of money on something like that versus this lesser amount on, keeping roofs over people's heads?
Well, there's lots of things that government spends money on, and obviously the governor is a Crown appointment. But just to put that into context, because I actually did a quick bit of maths this morning, I think the overall cost, if my maths is right, the overall cost of the governor's situation, the added value that the governor brings to the island in terms of promoting charities and working with the community, the whole operation, I think, is the equivalent of about 16p per head of population per week. So when you put it into that context, it's actually not as much money as it may first appear. But I think conflating things like that with homelessness is probably not quite right. Like I say, there is a multitude of things you could look across the whole of government. You could look at things we do in health and various things and say, well, if you did that slightly differently, you might save some money and you could spend it over here instead. But I think in terms of the homelessness cost, which is what we're talking about, like I say, I think it is value for money because it is providing emergency accommodation for people, and there is a human cost there as well.
That is Chair of the Housing and Communities Board, David Ashford, talking to Siobhan. You'll hear much more about that on Breakfast on Monday. 5:25. Rob's here now with the sports news.
Fast am I. Well, starting with football, and this weekend marks the start of the 2024-25 Isle of Man men's football season. 24 opening day fixtures are scheduled to take place across the Premier League, Division 2, Combination 1 and Combination 2 leagues on Saturday. Among the first top flight clashes, defending champions and 24 Eric Fletcher Charity Shield winners Ayr United start off with a potentially tricky home tie against Laxey. Well, all matches are due to kick off at 2:30pm with the exceptions of Corinthians versus Moran in the Premier League and both Moran versus Corinthians and St Mary's versus Union Mills in Combination 1. Details of this weekend's opening day fixtures are all listed at manxradio.com. Well, elsewhere, Ramsey Rugby Club face their first competitive test of the new rugby campaign when they travel to face Prenton in the Cheshire Vars this weekend. The Manx side will head to the Wirral at 2:15pm tomorrow. The Northerners last met their opposition this weekend almost exactly a year ago in the Cheshire Plate, managing a commanding 51-12 victory over the Birkenhead-based outfit in August 2023. Well, elsewhere, two local squads will face off on Ireland on Saturday in preparation for their respective campaigns. Southern Nomads will take on Vagabonds at Ballafletcher at 2pm tomorrow in a repeat of last season's Manx Plate final in April this year. And in hockey... excuse me, all of the 6 of the Isle of Man's junior national hockey sides will take part in a series of friendlies in the UK this weekend. The respective boys and girls teams across the under-18, under-16 and under-14 age groups will face opposition from England, Scotland and Wales between tonight and Sunday. These fixtures come ahead of the domestic mixed season getting underway on Saturday the 7th of September. And elsewhere, Manx player Archie Cox is taking part in his second game with the England Red team at this year's UK Boys School Games at Loughborough University. They're taking on Wales Red right now, with the match going into the final quarter.
We wish him all the very best, and thank you very much indeed, Rob. That's all from Update this evening. Thank you for your company and for tuning in. Rob's here again in a few moments with the Friday Sport Preview. Then it'll be Greatest Hits with Kinners from 6. Howard is Sweet and Swinging. Yeah, shouldn't probably say that, from 9. And then the weekend starts here from 10 with Nick Holt and the 90s playlist. Have a lovely weekend, whatever you're doing, and we will see you on Update again from 5pm on Monday.